My master wished to be undisturbed, so as we left Paris, I left him and went to explore the train. It was a delightful dining car and observation deck formed by the replacement of an entire compartment with an open glass cube. I stopped there, watching the scenery flash past, and as I stood, a portly gentleman with a quivering, luxuriant moustache struggled by carrying several trunks. I offered him my aid, and he introduced himself after a shower of thanks. Henri de Bloets, foreign correspondent of the Times. Are you working, monsieur? I asked, and to my delight, he assured me he was. I am, he patted his breast pocket. Stories that you hear, it seems everywhere is on the brink of one revolution or another. Everywhere there is progress, but who will count the cost? It will not be as bad as all that, I assured him. Oh, he replied with some dark amusement. Perhaps the people of Belgrade would not agree with you after what happened there. Good day to you. With that, he clapped me on the shoulder and headed off into the direction of the dining car. I followed him and found a few groups of people talking quietly. I joined a pair of young Parisian ladies who were toasting their adventure away from France. They were going to Vienna to hear a concert by the great steam orchestra there. I only hope we will be allowed to leave, one confided. Because of your great beauty? I inquired, and the girl blushed. Her companion frowned at me. You are a valet, monsieur. Gotta get that one right, it's not quite the same thing. You're a valet, monsieur, she pointed out. You do not have the standing required for such a remark. I am first and foremost a Frenchman, I rejoined with a smile. The girl shook her head, and above that, a man, she replied with a sigh. Come, Isabel. She stood, and her friend, reluctantly I think, left with her. I finished my cognac, and then returned to Monsieur Fogg, who, to my surprise, looked up from his paper at me. What did you learn? He inquired. I told him of the observation car, but he showed no interest in its design or function. He was, however, interested in de Bloets. Could he tell you much of the journey ahead, he asked? Every detail may be important to us. I told him I would find out what I could in future. Either way, there was no more to be done that night. Your character is now zestful. So, bed down for the night on the train, on the Orient Express, on our way to... Where were we headed? Have we already passed one city? Oh, well, wow, that got there pretty quick. That was a pretty fast method of travel. We arrived at Vienna in the early hours of the morning. Customs officials insisted on searching our bags for, of all things, artificing tools. I asked de Bloets, who was lingering on the platform, for an explanation. Ah, the interdiction, of course. He saw my look of bafflement and continued, Only imperial artificers may produce automata in Austro-Hungary. A strange state of affairs, but I was hardly an artificer, and so it mattered little. The sun rose in the sky as we left the station, illuminating the wide, tree-lined avenues of Vienna in pale, welcoming light. I suspect we're not going to get much opportunity to speak to de Bloets here, for this is where our journey ends. So our possessions could be sold handsomely here. Indeed they can when the market opens in a couple of hours, so I believe if we click on the clock... Wow, okay, apparently that doesn't work in this version. That's useful. On the mobile version, the clock at the top, if you tap on the clock, it does advance it by an hour. Apparently, in a Android virtual machine, we do have to hang fire on it. So we shall explore the city. That will cost us 4 hours, and we'll be able to find our way. It is still mid-morning. It's still only 9:51. I did not see a single flesh and blood soldier in Vienna, the city of music. My dear friends, the rumours are quite real. The Austro-Hungarian Empire's might is built upon its armies of mechanical men. They are a magnificent sight. Ranged in gleaming rows upon the white Parisian-style boulevards, their enamel uniforms shine to a polish. As I watched, I was approached by a bookish fellow who hurried out from under the impressive eagle-arched portcullis of the Zughaus, the Imperial Armory. You think them fantastical? He demanded, a curious turn to his voice. Glorious, I replied, beautifully crafted. They are more impressive than you could imagine, he stuck out his hand. Herr Danzer, apprentice engineer in the Imperial Kriegsorchester. I plied him with wine to loosen his tongue, and once he started talking he would not stop. Have you noticed none of the mechanical soldiers carry weapons? He hissed. What do you make of that? They are strong, I suppose, I replied, disliking the turn of conversation. Inside each one is a Mozart-Haydn device, perfectly tuned, Herr Danzer replied. The song the soldiers sing is one of devastation. A battalion in harmony can punch through a steel wall. He drew a gilded flute from his scabbard and laid it on the table, looking at it thoughtfully. The flute is how you control them, I hazarded. Herr Danzer hesitated, but I slid my glass of wine across the table, and his eyes glazed as he drank it in one swallow. Yes, we, the Musiker Soldaten, control them with our instruments. I am the finest flautist in the Vienna Kriegsorchester. He began, to my horror, to weep. I patted his hand to comfort him, and he gazed at me inconsolably. As a boy I dreamed of joining the Artificers Guild, he confessed, voice blurry with drink. But for someone born in this country it is impossible. The Kaiser and the Guild are sworn enemies. The Guild, I reminded him, were politically neutral. He shook his head. The Guild are forbidden within the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Our automata are not Guild-approved, they are our own. His mouth was a cold line. The Guild would not countenance building such monsters. The wine must have taken hold, as he began to weep. I left for the cafe soon after. I strolled back along the avenues, watching the city pass with new eyes under its gilded and manicured beauty lurked something sharper and more bloodthirsty. Vienna was at once the city of music and the city of war. Your funds have gone down a touch, and your character is now superior. We are now in Vienna. We can now have can sell this. Although he did say he was glad we had it, but for £700, I feel that's worth selling. The Zoetrope is worth 550, and we didn't pay anywhere near that for it. We can now reduce our equipment to have a bottle of vodka and fur-lined boots, cracker biscuits. I'm wondering which of these we can bring. I don't even know what that is. A perfectly crafted mechanical woodlouse. Worth quite a lot of money in a place that I don't know where it is, but it sounds vaguely Soviet. There's a pressure gauge, part of the engineer set. I suspect that... Oh, the last departure to Venice leaves within the hour. Then we should go. Let us depart within the hour. No. Oh, to Venice? No, we want to go to Budapest. But hey-ho, we're on our way. I'm not sure why I was notified of Venice. Venice, I don't know where Venice is. I presume that's down, and I think that's going the wrong way, isn't it? That's the route that was going sort of south. And we kind of, want to be pressing east, really. We hired an oil-guzzling Bozik to take us along the open road from Vienna to Budapest. The road followed the rail tracks for most of the way, but we saw no trains as we chuffed along. The relationship with fog has improved slightly. For what, I don't know. I had no idea you were so exceptionally talented, my man. We shall converse with someone. Greetings, driver. Yes, hello. Tell me about Budapest. I have nothing to say. Can we get from Budapest to Warsaw? That's heading east, isn't it? I'm quite sure. Sounds unlikely. Okay, from Budapest to Bucharest. Here's something I do know. I have heard people say Bucharest is the little Paris. That's not necessarily useful to me, but okay. We arrived in the mid-afternoon without incident. And there we go. That was an uneventful journey. The evening jacket could earn as well there. Whether he would appreciate my selling his affairs or not, I'm not sure. The altimeter, we didn't pay that much for it, did we? I'm sure the altimeter was cheaper than that, so I think that might be a small profit if I were to sell that. The pressure gauge is not really worth selling. The evening jacket is worth 500. Well, that's a good amount of money that would serve us well on our journey, I feel. I feel we should probably take opportunities to buy these things where we can. European carriages list for £1 will open up all the European routes, so sure, let's take that. That seems like that'd be useful to know. So if we leave the shop, hopefully that should open up. There we go, so there's some European carriage routes. There are many. None of them are any of those actually heading the way I want? Not necessarily. Oh, we got Warsaw. Yes, Warsaw. This is somewhere... Oh, I was trying to get to Warsaw. He said I couldn't get to Warsaw, didn't he? Oh, wait, hang on. Does that link to me? There are a lot of routes here. Man. All these carriage routes. Man, we've got down to Alexandria and Cairo. Marrakesh? What? Tangier? Marrakesh through Tangier scarcely seems like Europe to me, but okay. There is little we can do at this time in the evening, so we could take a quick look at our options. Where are we? We are currently stationed in Budapest. From there, we should be able to make it to Warsaw. I don't know how quickly we could get there. Seems as though that would be an option. I'd prefer to press east. Belgrade might be a useful one, if I could find a way there. I think Belgrade seems to be where we should probably be looking to go, first and foremost. Okay, let us rest for the night and find our way in the morning. A dusty-jacketed Englishman at our hotel recommended a restaurant called the Clemens to Monsieur Fogg. The Magyars make an excellent broth, he promised. Ominous words indeed. I'd never really been one for broth. A broth is, in my humble opinion, merely an incomplete consommé, at best an inferior bouillon. Monsieur Fogg was set on the matter, however. I could not argue, and decided instead to sulk genteelly in the manner of a well-trained chambermaid. We settled to dinner at Clemens, where our soup arrived in a gleaming silver tureen. My master, a man of impeccably high standards, even remarked upon the tureen's flawless polish. The soup inside was, as I feared, delicious. How could I persuade my master to avoid broth in future if we encountered such delicately flavoured examples as these? I talked to the waiter as coffee was served, asking if he had any advice for our journey. "Indeed I do," he replied. "Avoid the artificers in Bucharest. They are a mean-spirited lot." "Have you suffered at their hands?" "Ah, monsieur," he replied darkly, "that is a tale I do not like to tell. Well fed and much becalmed, we returned to our hotel without further incident. Our relations with Fogg have deteriorated slightly. Things do not go well there, apparently, somehow. Let us spend the morning exploring the city, see what routes we can learn. There we go, that's a good route, down to Thessaloniki. I took a few hours to explore, investigating the various options for how we might continue our journey. Presumably without incident. We shall plan our way. Presumably there are no options to depart today then. So, Thessaloniki. Departs tomorrow at 10 AM. So, little we can do today, which is unfortunate. It's a very affordable journey, mind you, at £53. Gets a good chunk of the way. So, I don't think there's much we can do. We shall take another look at the market. Was there anything we can do? I could get rid of that, actually, quite comfortably. I can sell it for as much as I bought it for, and we already know the routes, I guess? So, that just seems like I just looked at the list. At £8, I wonder if the neck cushion could be of any use to us. I shall bring it, just in the off chance, for £8 is not a heck of a lot. There's little we can do on a Saturday. Certainly can't go to the bank, not that we need to, and I've already explored for the day. So I'm afraid we must spend the night, spending a little longer than I should care for in Budapest, but nonetheless. With what remained of the day, I spent a few hours polishing shoes in the lobby, earning £85 in fees and tips, which should somewhat counter the fact that we had to spend money on a hotel for the night. Well, that certainly wouldn't help us. Can we get to Athens? Orient Express. We can embark. Or we can go to Thessaloniki. I'd rather break our journey into as small options as possible. The long journeys, in my experience, having been on the Trans-Siberian Railway, don't seem to work out too well. Today we turned south. The Orient Express Company ran a spur line from Budapest that swept down the length of Europe to Athens. It originally stopped midway at Belgrade. But since we had no reason to stop in Middle Europe anyway, so the lack of a station was of little consequence. Is that not where we were headed? No, we're headed down to Thessaloniki. Oh, we could stop at Belgrade. I think that was an option, but it would be a strange option, I guess. We shall converse with the Madame Guard. Show me your ticket first, please. Yes, monsieur. How can I help? What can you tell me about Thessaloniki? I find your accent confusing. What can you tell me about getting to Istanbul? Yes, one could travel aboard the Istanbul Express from Thessaloniki to Istanbul. That's useful. What can you tell me about Istanbul? Istanbul is the only city in the world to straddle 2 continents. But answer me this, you are holiday makers. No, indeed, we are going around the world. You're going around the world, you say? How remarkable. Istanbul. Now, what else do you know about Istanbul? You have lost me, friend. Ah, yes, I already asked about that. From there, we can... the problem is I don't know a lot of these place names, so I don't really know where they go. Odessa? Find out where that is, maybe. Is it possible to go from Istanbul to Odessa? Let's just say that you can buy stopwatches in Odessa you can sell for profit in Izmir. Can we get to Izmir? Apparently Istanbul is connected to Izmir, is that right? Speaking of cars, I understand there's a regular service by road from Manama to Riyadh, but the fare is very high. This is not what I wanted to know, but okay. Hopefully I'll get some routes out of this, even if I don't know where any of them are. It's useful to know them, I suppose. What about Riyadh? What can you tell me about Riyadh? I'm afraid I have to go now. Well, there we go. We've got... okay. Istanbul's there. That's useful to know. Riyadh to Manama and back again on 2 separate routes, apparently. Despite knowing to expect it, I could not help but gasp as we swept through the empty husk of Belgrade. It seemed home only to ghosts. It was like a perfectly preserved museum exhibit. To all appearances, one might believe there had never been people here at all. Quite what had happened, no one truly knew. The roads, houses, viaducts were all still standing. The gas lamps still burned, but not a single voice cried out, and not a door or shutter moved. I asked Mr. Fogg his thoughts, and he sighed. I fear that our age is seeing a great experimentation in warfare, much as in every other walk of life. I hope you are wrong. Yes, I am not, he replied. But at least the trains move faster. His answer seemed to me as bleak as Belgrade itself. But as the Orient Express left it behind, it carried us towards a long evening of gentle wines and candlelights, which went some way toward lightening the soul. We shall converse again, see what we can learn from folks. Oh, we're talking to, right, we're talking to Monsieur Fogg. We shall talk about Thessaloniki. What have you learned about Thessaloniki? It is named after the half-sister of Alexander the Great. How are our funds? They are very well funded indeed. You have made some excellent decisions. Well, thank you. We have made £1,000 just travelling the world, which... That's alright if you can do it. That's not a bad hobby. If you can make money travelling the world, that's pretty good. So he's happy with me. My relationship down here is still all blue and wonderful and 100, so it looks like we're good friends. We arrived at Thessaloniki station in northern Greece in the morning. We disembarked without delay. Relations with Fogg have improved slightly. He seems to like trains. Trains are a good option. Doesn't mind that. Although I do believe the Trans-Siberian train is not a particularly pleasant one. I don't think he particularly enjoys that. We're here in Thessaloniki. What have we got to sell at market? Any of these particularly valuable? Pressure gauge is worth £6. That's not worth selling. Altimeter is worth 66. Not too bad. The neck cushion. No, there's no money to be made out of that. I'm not sure any of these are particularly useful. I don't really need a Russian train timetable. I have no plans to go through Russia. Nothing terribly of consequence in the market here. We could immediately depart on our way. We should, in fact, head to Istanbul for £120. Yes, he's not particularly happy with this journey, but there we go. Absolutely, no sense spending the night in hotels when we could be on our way across the world as fast as possible. I like that I managed to plan that one, sort of. Maybe not intentionally, but I did. We boarded the train promptly, despite a crazed man who blocked our path. He was trying to tell me something, and I paused to listen. The artificers, he hissed. They aren't content to just make, believe me. They long to destroy. I asked him how he could be certain, but he merely tapped the side of his nose and answered, Wires. We nodded farewell and stepped onto the train. What a crazy man. Crazy man. We must converse, see what we can learn about places. Greetings, Madame Apostoles. Passepartout, my dear. Who is this? Is he just happen to bump into somebody he knows on the train? Tell me about Istanbul. I'm told Istanbul is the only city in the world to straddle 2 continents. Yes, a card told me that. The artificer of Suleimani makes the most intricate marvels. Is that relevant? Okay. From Istanbul, can we get to... I don't know where these are. Antalya. There's a route from Istanbul to Antalya. Absolutely, the public carriage from Izmir connects in Istanbul with the road journey to Antalya. Okay, we have a route to do something with then. From Antalya, can we get to Mount Elbrus? I'm sorry, I have to run. Well, see you later. So we've got another route that takes us down there. That's at least somewhat east. The coastal train from Thessaloniki to Istanbul appeared to be determined to go the long way round, as if the builders had preferred to stay in sight of the sea at all times for the good of their health. I enjoyed the fresh air myself, of course. With the sun shining, the Aegean was quite beautiful. I could have been happy lazing by its shore, if it were not for Monsieur Fogg's insistence on constant departure. In truth, we spend so little time in each city in which we land that arrival seems to be an overstatement of the facts. On board, I fell in with a middle-aged Greek couple who were going to Istanbul to meet their daughter. I asked them about the city, and they were both quiet and ashen-faced. There seem to be riots, the father said, and the mother nodded. Lots of students are involved. Your daughter is a student? I hazarded. Not in Istanbul, you understand, the mother put in. She studies at the library in Alexandria. She's going to be an artificer, but ideas spread like oil, don't they? The library? You didn't know? The artificers rebuilt the library of Alexandria. It's worth a visit. Most impressive. The father nodded. A most impressive sight. I'm sure your daughter will be safe. I hope so, the mother sniffed. I believe she's a sensible girl, but who knows for certain with children? Father patted her hand sympathetically. The train pulled up at Sirkeci Terminal, and I waved the couple off as we disembarked. Relations with fog have deteriorated slightly. It still says 100. Seems to be pretty good. I'm okay with that. If that's deteriorating, that's... Oh, there we go. It's down 4. Okay. I'll live with that. Yeah!